Hello, good morning. How we doing? Steak, style. I thought you were going to be fashionably late again. Good to see you nice and set up. How's the audio?
Really good, man. Really good. How's everything with you?
Very good. Steak, where's your microphone?
Technical difficulties, but I think things are going good.
Why would you think things are going good? I doubt there's going to be
my Wi-Fi is way better.
That's true. Your Wi-Fi is way better. But why not? Can you at least put your microphone in the camera so it looks good?
There isn't a microphone.
What happened to it?
Technical difficulty, dude. I got to get it reset up. I don't really have like the ledge for setting up the microphone, if that makes sense. So I need a new one that sits on my desktop.
I see the look on Styles' face. Just blame it on the hurricane, by the way. You just had.
I think Style knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he attached it to his window ledge. That's what he's talking about.
Sounds not ideal. Well, good morning, gentlemen, and good morning, everybody. We're going to run through props as always. Prop Talk presented by Underdog. I got the link here pinned up at Twitch. If you're in there, if you want to sign up and play, you get a 50% deposit match. Promo code DGen. If you're going to any games, SeatGeek, $20 off your first purchase. Promo code DGen. Good morning. I see we got Twitter, YouTube, Twitch live. We have a guest joining us today who is somebody that I've been following for quite a while, and pretty bright, sharp individual, as I like to say. Style, I don't know if you're familiar with Freddy Mills because you're somewhat new to Twitter. I know you're more active on TikTok, and if you're on TikTok, you can catch Style at I always forget. Is it The Easy Money Sports?
Yeah, just the Easy Money Sports.
The Easy Money Sports on TikTok. Steak, I think you're familiar with Freddy, and we always love. We've got our picks today. If you're not already hip to the newsletter picks, here you go. We need to get right in the NFL. For the most part, I mean, the reads have been there every week, but we need to get right in the NFL. And it's funny because when we make our picks and then we end up seeing what Freddie tweets out and what he's on, we're always like, yes, if he's on our side, or if he's against us, we're like, fuck. So we're gonna have Freddie join us here. It looks like he's ready to roll. Freddie, are you good? I see your camera's on. Hello, Freddie. How you doing?
Good, guys. How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you,
Perfect.
see you. Awesome. Thank you again for joining us, Steak Style. As we mentioned, we do this every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. It's a little on the earlier side, but I tend to be a little corp later. I work weekends, so it works out for everybody. Although, Style, I did find out that you have to drive to the studio, so I apologize about the inconvenience.
It's all good.
No, I'm Sunday morning.
We got a fun day ahead of us.
So, Freddie, I didn't know that you were a big. Well, I don't know that you're a big prop guy, but I didn't know you were much of a prop bettor. And then I started to see your Twitter, which it's not in your handle in case anybody wants to follow you, but it's at Freddy Mills. Is there a number in there?
Yeah, 7. Yeah.
Okay, at Freddy Mills 7. I saw on Thursday night you had Foster Moreno over 9.5 receiving yards and alt over 25 yards. And I think that hit on the first drive of the game.
Yeah, it did. That was very beautiful because I had very little interest watching that full game. So it was nice sometimes when those hit early and you can kind of feel good about it and move on, because playing those kind of uglier, less popular props can kind of make you look like a fool sometimes too. So in this case, I got lucky and it hit very early. So that was nice.
Yeah, we know all about it. I had to hear Steak tell me about Bub Mean 17 times, although he did go over his receiving props. So
yeah,
that might cement another week of Bub Means talk. But if you could go ahead and just give us a play in the first that will cash in the first play of this Jags Patriots game, so I don't have to watch it anymore, that would be awesome. No, but let's talk about this game. Jags minus 5.5. I'm watching it right now. The pregame, it looks like Drake May is good to go. I heard there was some talk late that he was having an MRI and he might not even travel with the team. So it looks like that's been put to bed. The Patriots are now 6.5 point underdogs. I'm seeing a total of 41.5. The Jags are up to 6.5. I'm going to stay off of this game entirely, but oh fuck, wait a minute. Did it make our Circa Millions card, Steak? It may have.
Jags. I really like the Jags.
You really like the Jags. Okay, tell me why you like the Jags.
I want to say it's a fade of the Patriots. It is a fade of the Patriots. Obviously, we all watched the Jags in London last week. It was miserable. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. They dropped 5 touchdown passes. I'm not saying they should have won the game, but I don't think it should have been as bad as it looked. I know 3 of the touchdowns were on the same drive, but just dropping 5 touchdown passes in a game is absolutely insane. And I'm not buying. I would absolutely buy Trevor Lawrence having a day over buying into this very depleting New England defense. They're just getting worse and worse. They got absolutely torched by CJ Stroud last week. And Drake May had some moments. Don't get me wrong. He had some moments, and I'm sure he'll have a few moments today. But I don't think Drake May is ready to be a competitive NFL starting quarterback. I think they're going to lose by double digits, 14 points. And I could see some good Drake May garbage time numbers, but I think you're going to get good days from the Jacksonville receivers.
Okay. Style, are you aligned with Steak here on this? I'm thinking that it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, for sure. I like the Jags too. And kind of what he was saying, man. I feel like, majority of people are probably thinking Pats on this one.
Are they though?
Even with Drake May, man, I know that you just confirmed that he's playing. The fact that you did too, man, I actually looked at it a little bit this morning. The only play I really like in this game, at least for a prop, is for Drake May to throw an interception. It's a little juicy. I think it's at like minus 135 or maybe minus 150.
That's not bad. I would lay that.
Yeah, but I think Drake May throws one, man. I do think the Jags turn it today and win by double digits, like Steak said.
Okay. All right. Freddie, do you have a side total or prop in the Patriots-Jaguars game?
I haven't bet anything yet. A couple of things were keeping me, I guess, waiting. Number one was the forecast. I saw like perhaps some rain in the first half and some wind gusts, and there's been a lot of talk all week about how stadium may either allow it or not allow it to be a factor of the wind. So I guess we'll see there. I guess sidewise, what I found interesting was the Jags kind of getting to stay there all week, whereas Patriots are traveling. If you look at that happened last week, where when they played the second game of I guess their London trip, Buffalo came in and they won as pretty big underdogs. So maybe a little bit of a hidden edge that we can't quite quantify yet because the London trips are still relatively new, particularly the back-to-back. So I kind of definitely lean with the Jags just because they're there all week, whereas the Patriots now, young quarterback, young head coach who haven't really had this weird travel spot before, usually a spot maybe to lean in and play against. If I was going to look at a prop, and one I'm considering is Christian Kirk over 30. I think it goes anywhere from 40 to 42 and a half receiving yards. Win was a concern, but if you look last week, all of the kind of numbers came between Ingram, who came back, and then obviously they also had a big performance, I think, from Gabe Davis. Whereas Kirk had kind of a quiet game, only 30 yards. A couple of reasons I like him here to bounce back. Number one is, of course, you have Gonzalez, the top corner, who can probably shadow Thomas a little bit. You sell high a little bit on Ingram as well as Gabe Davis. And if you look at this New England defense, they're bottom 3 in EPA allowed over the middle and top 10 in yards per attempt and passer rating allowed versus slot receivers. So I think this sets up very nicely for the Kirk bounce back. And before last week, he was someone who the previous 3 weeks had I believe like 20 receptions. So obviously a key target for Lawrence. So I think he's the guy today. He kind of maybe goes a tiny bit under the radar with big performances of Ingram and obviously the love that Thomas is getting as a rookie. And I think this matchup just fits more to his strengths. So he's the guy I'm looking at to have a big game. And even if the wind is kind of a factor, he's more of the short possession type receiver that can kind of get this either way. So I like Christian Kirk today.
I can get down with Christian Kirk. Jake, or Steak, I see you nodding your head nonstop. You like Christian
Kirk?
I
love it. I love it. I said I like the Jags receivers. He's probably my favorite one. Besides, I always love Brian Thomas Jr., but today I back Kirk, and I do think with ETN out square or whatever you want to call it, I think Tank Bigsby gets in the end zone for sure.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that his yards got bumped up by 5. I think that's strictly due to ETN maybe not playing.
He's not playing, but it's been known pretty much all week that he wasn't going to play. He's also been really terrible, so he kind of sort of got benched before the injury to some degree. There was a point where DeAndre Johnson outsnapped ETN. So yeah, he's been trending down really badly.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. DeAndre Johnson had 6 carries for 28 yards and 2 catches. That's a lot of touches for DeAndre Johnson. Okay. All right. So May to throw an interception, which is on underdog. I don't hate that one bit. I'm not really a Drake May guy, although I got to tell you, I'm willing to accept when I'm wrong, and I'm not going to say I am or I'm not after just one game. But Drake May looked a lot better than I expected him to look in his debut. I think nobody's really mentioned anything about this over. I wouldn't hate it, but Freddie you're shaking your head. Freddie brought up a decent point about the weather. I'm not someone who plays weather, but I definitely factor it into things. I don't understand the roof situation with this. It's like a partial roof, but there's an opening. But if there's 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts and like 90% chance of rain, which is the last I heard of it, I don't want to fuck around with points. But Christian Kirk over receiving yards looks like on FanDuel he is at 41.5. Yeah, 41.5. I like what you said about kind of zigzagging on Gabe Davis having a big game yesterday or last week. Also, it's kind of funny. I didn't realize Gabe Davis ended up with 2 touchdowns because I remember him dropping 2 touchdowns. That's remarkable to drop 2 and then catch 2. So, all right, made a throw a pick. And Christian Kirk over receiving yards sounds like it would be our top 2 from the Jags game. I might do a little 2-teamer. And that's all I'm going to do to keep it fun. If I'm doing these player prop entries, by the way, I've had much more success doing 2 and 3. The 5 and 6s are fun, but let's be honest, long term, you're not winning shit on those. All right, let's talk about the Dolphins and the Colts. I'm pretty excited to hear what everybody has to think about this game. So what's that? Oh, sorry, Steak. I thought you said something. No. So it looks like the Dolphins are now 3-point underdogs. I think they were 3.5 earlier in the week. Total 43.5. And I think Anthony Richardson is playing officially. So, and Jonathan Taylor is out. So Correct. If I'm wrong there, correct me. We know Tyler Huntley is going to be the quarterback for the Dolphins. We got the bye week for McDaniel and him in that offense. I got to tell you, so before I got this stream started, I turned on BetQL. And not that I'm saying anything good or bad about them, but I was very surprised when I heard them talking about this game. The first 2 people said they love the Dolphins today. And I just always find that surprising. I guess Mike McDaniel just might have that effect on people because he had it on me when they played at Seattle. I had the Dolphins, and I thought nobody was going to want Skylar Thompson in Seattle. Everybody had Skylar Thompson in Seattle. It feels like it's happening again. And it feels like nobody has anything good to say about Anthony Richardson starting instead of Flacco because Flacco's been so good. I'm now wondering if there is an opportunity to buy low on the Colts offense or Anthony Richardson, maybe yards, rushing yards, touchdown score, whatever. I still like the Dolphins. I like the Dolphins offense. In terms of a game script, I mean, I'm going to pull up their team now on Underdog. In terms of a game script, it's got to be one of the 2 big names in Tyreek Hill, obviously being the bigger of the 2, or Achane. I just don't know which one. But one of these guys, in my opinion, is going to have 100 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't know which one. I like the Dolphins offense to score, like the over in the game. Can't quite settle on a player yet. We'll switch up the rotation here as we keep going. But for now, Steak, what do you like in this game?
I'll make it quick. I'm scared to get cute with the Dolphins, even though I agree with what you said. I know for a fact I like points. I think both offenses play better. I think it's very interesting if you look at what the Colts offense does with Anthony Richardson versus Joe Flacco. The output is way better with Joe Flacco, but the line has moved up for the over at least 1.5 since I told you I liked it on whatever day we did our players only meeting. I think you're going to get a lot of points. I can't get past the fact that Ty Huntley is a capable quarterback. He hasn't showed it this year. But he is a capable quarterback. He started the playoff game. He's came in relief for the Ravens and been competent. And I just think a week or 2 under his belt, I think he's going to be a little better. That's all I keep telling myself. As far as the masterclass candidate for the Dolphins, I'm going Achane because honestly, I've almost seen him favor Waddle a little more than Hill. Not that he's done great with either guy. So I don't think I want to back Tyreek Hill. So for me, it's Achane, and my favorite bet in the game is points.
Okay. Achane, points. I'm good with that. Style, how do you feel about the Dolphins Colts?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that I keep going after Steak, but Steak said it, man. It definitely seems like Waddle's being favored a little bit more. I'm not huge up on Achane today, but I do think we can still get Waddle over receptions, which I think is at 3.5. I do think there's a breakout game. I do think that Miami gets this done. I like your take on the over as well. But yeah, as far as receivers, man, I don't know if I could back Hill. I think his line set at 54 today or something like that. 55,
57.5 on Underdog.
Really? So even with that, man, I obviously, yeah, Tyreek Hill's more than capable of getting that yardage. He get that yardage in the first half of the game. But I do think that I'm going to be backing Waddle today, man.
All right, Waddle receptions?
Yeah, at least for receptions, which is at 3.5, right?
Yep, 3.5. And he's had exactly 4 in the last 3 games.
Okay, yeah.
So he's just going over that by a smidge. Okay, so Waddle reception, Steak, you're on Achane. I can't quite figure it out yet, but nobody's mentioned a Colts player. Freddie, do you have any thoughts or play in this game?
No play. This was one of my hardest games to project from a side. I do kind of lean toward points because you get Miami off a bye week where Huntley can settle into the offense a little bit more. I like that sort of thing. Richardson certainly has explosive playability, so I definitely agree with the over being maybe the total look. If I was going to play a prop here, I'll go to the Colts side. I like Trey Sermon. So you mentioned the backup starting there at running back Taylor out, and I think with Richardson starting at quarterback, you're definitely going to get more of those RPO run heavy approach. And if you look at what opponents have been doing to the Dolphins, they've actually been running on them at a top 5 rate in neutral game situations. So I can see a lot of kind of these pistol shotgun situations where the ball is in Richardson's hands, and Sermon gets a lot of looks as they overcommit to playing Richardson. So I like. If anything here, I haven't bet anything yet, but Trey Sermon rush yards, I think it's around 50. I just think just the way this game sets up, they're going to want to probably keep some of the explosive speed that you mentioned, like Etienne and Hill off the field, because they are still down a lot of defenders like Buckner up front, Juju Brent's their top corner. I think the Colts' best path here is to run the ball. And I think Sermon could be a guy that maybe is going underlooked because he's not a big name like Taylor. I like him to perhaps have a sneaky good game from a DFS point of view or a rush yards prop point of view. I think he probably gets closer to 60 yards versus the 50s lined out here now.
Yeah, I'm typically when I see a guy in college, I feel like he's a little under the radar, and I'm like, I love this dude. And when he gets drafted, I think the team did a great job drafting him. Trey Sermon was one of those guys for me, and I also sort of have a soft spot for any running back that comes out of Ohio State, but he hasn't done anything, I think, in the NFL up to now. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like maybe people have given up on him because with Flacco back there, Flacco's a pass first. Right. Whereas now the defense has to be a little bit more cautious on the edges because if Richardson keeps the ball, I mean, you're overexposed and he can break a big run. So I feel like this opens up more opportunity between the tackles for him in this game. I think it's just better for a running back to be playing with Richardson than it would be Flacco. Not anything groundbreaking there, but I feel like now might be the time to buy him after maybe a few quiet performances.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. All right, so a little diverse there. So we got Sermon over rushing yards. Steak, what did you like specifically for Achane, by the way?
I like rushing and receiving because I don't want to count out the receiving if I was to take both. I would want to take both. Well,
is he going to be in your touchdown parlay?
Probably, yes.
Yeah. I would really like him to score. I'm just going to throw him to score in there. So somebody asked, by the way, do we had a prop in the Jags game? Yeah. So Freddie liked Kirk over receiving yards. Styles said made a throw a pick. I just did a 2-teamer or a 2-leg entry on Underdog for just a half unit for a little fun. So that's what we did. Agreed, DJ. Couldn't decide, so stay away. Yep, for real, Freddie. Nice with it. W. Ulwich, thank you for the sub, Bang, by the way. Thank you for the new follows. Primary season. Cutback Mac. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm going to leave in Sermon, and I'm going to leave in Achane on that before we go ahead and move on. All right. Detroit and Minnesota. Vikings, it looks like, are now a 1-point favorite. I know, Steak, you're a Vikings fan. We'll switch it up. We won't start with you this time. We'll end with you, if anything. Big game here. 1.5 actually still at FanDuel. Total 50.5. I guess you could say maybe at first glance it's kind of surprising to see a Sam Darnold-led Vikings team as a favorite against the Detroit Lions. So I feel like everybody in the sports betting world has some sort of skin in the game with the Lions, myself included. But the Lions look right after that Seahawks game. The offense looks great. Ben Johnson has appeared to kind of figure it out a little bit after 4 weeks of, a little uncertainty there and conservatism. Even Lions fans were not happy about it. Pretty high total, given that Brian Flores has this defense Minnesota playing so well. But obviously you got a huge injury with Aiden Hutchinson out, which is very, very unfortunate. I don't really know what I think in terms of a side. I don't know what I think in terms of a total. All I can do is respect the fact that I don't see the Vikings slowing down. I don't think the Vikings are frauds. I think from top to bottom, they have great coach, good coaching staff. Darnold can still play. They have dudes. I would love to know if Aaron Jones is in this game or not, because I think he really does make a big. He's important for that offense, and we saw them kind of not do much in that Jets game when he got hurt. So I think when push comes to shove, I'm trusting a GOAT in Justin Jefferson. It would be a don't overthink it Justin Jefferson game for me. And then, man, I just still think this offense sort of clicks. And I feel like I like Goff to maybe – I've heard he's good under pressure. I don't know the analytics or the stats behind it, but I'm leaning Goff something, maybe completions, and then Justin Jefferson. So if you guys – Steak, why do you have that confused look on your face?
I just look like this.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Kyle, let's start with you. Vikings and Lions. What are you thinking for this game?
Oh man. First, I'm very excited about how the Vikings been doing this season for sure. Kind of building momentum off of last week though, with how Detroit looked against the Cowboys. Now I know that it's the Cowboys and they haven't been playing the best, obviously, but I feel like their pass defense was really good. And I think Sam Darnold's passing yards is too high. Actually 263. It's actually lower on underdogs than it is on Hard Rock. I think there's a couple more points on Hard Rock, but I still like his under passing yards. I think Detroit holds him to under that. And as far as the anytime, I don't see how Gibbs doesn't score today. It's probably going to be a receiving touchdown, not a rushing touchdown, but I definitely can see them checking it down to him a bunch of times against the Vikings. And either Gibbs getting over his yards and anytime or just going for his anytime touchdown.
Okay.
I like Sam Darnold under passing yards. I see you have it at 264. I'd still take that.
Okay. I don't have the balls to fade Sam Darnold, oddly enough. I know that sounds funny.
I think he still gets his pass completions low. Don't get me wrong, man. He's
okay.
I just don't think he's throwing long ones.
So Sammy checked down today.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Freddie, anything on the Vikings and Lions?
Yeah. I'm going to have to disagree here. I actually bet Sam Darnold over 263.5 pass yards.
Wow.
Couple of reasons, I guess. I mean, if you just look at his prop the whole year, it hasn't gone over pregame closing at 240.5. Now we're at 263.5. So I try and listen to you guys. Like, it's a little bit of a, they're almost telling you something here by setting it 20 yards higher. His season average is 222. So we're all the way up in the 260s. That under looks pretty inviting to me. But obviously, I think he's going to go over. A couple of reasons. Obviously, you mentioned Hutch being down for Detroit. He leads the NFL in pressure rate, in pressures generated. So I do think there's going to be a little bit more time there for the passing game. Minnesota, if you look what they do with KOC there, they're already 5th in neutral game pass rate. So they want to pass the ball in these, whether it's neutral game pass rate or a chase pass situation. So even if they get down or they're leading, they're still throwing the ball. And what are Detroit opponents doing? They're throwing at the third highest rate above expectations. So I think it all lines up here for Minnesota to line up, spread the field, and throw the ball. I don't think in this case, one reason Darnold's pass yards hasn't gone over. If you look at their game scripts this year, they've been blowing teams out. So when you get to the end of the third quarter, fourth quarter, they've just been basically running the ball, protecting leads. I don't think that's going to be the case today. I believe Detroit will do enough to stay in this game so that, the neutral game pass script will continue. And then when I look at what Detroit does defensively they're a man-to-man defense. They're top 5 rate. And if you look at the splits for Darnold in his career, and even this year, he's second in the NFL in passer rating versus man-to-man defense. So going back to Jefferson and some of the playmakers you mentioned there, I think it's going to be a big day for them. So whether it's his pass yards, which I chose to bet, or his pass attempts, which I believe was set yesterday at around 34.5, I think this is a game where they're going to line up and throw the ball against Detroit personally. But I guess we'll see if I'm right, but I think it just lines up. It fits what the weakness, I think, of Detroit is,
sure,
and what Minnesota wants to do. And I feel like market-wise, Darnold hasn't really, even though he's played well, the game script has always prevented him from having these monster games because they haven't had to throw it in the fourth quarter. Today, I think they will, I think you probably see a 275, 300-yard game from him today personally, but I guess we'll see.
And I want to just reference some of the chat banter going on because it's hilarious. Curb said Goff is horrible versus the defensive scheme that Flores runs. You'll see, and that the Lions are losing by 2 touchdowns. Goff is not great versus the blitz. And then we have a Detroit Lions fan that said Goff is great versus the blitz. And
he had a couple of good games against Flores last year, but I don't know how much you can take with that, because I think there were some garbage time situations or games that didn't matter. Traditionally, I guess Goff has been a guy who has been bothered by pressure. So I guess we'll see how he does today. I do like the fact that he has some different playmakers there too. So
yeah,
you can't judge this year to year. You get different playmakers, guys who act as kind of your outlet valves against pressure, and they do have some different players there now. So I think personally, you got to be a little bit careful judging guys, fully on what they've done year to year, because you got some different personnel and adjustments. So
sure,
I think he'll have an okay game. I like Minnesota, but I don't think he's going to look overwhelmed personally. But
Well, I like Style did say he thinks the completions hit for Darnold, so maybe there's something there with the attempts as well. I like Justin Jefferson. I think I'm going to go receiving yards or touchdown. By the way, real quick, Trot said, "Is Freddie's Twitter private? Is Freddie's Twitter private because it's a personal account? You just have to request to follow. I think is that right, Freddie?
Yeah. I just said a personal more so for work-related reasons, and I guess it helps me manage the people in there as well. So I'll always accept you. It's just a matter of, I guess, a lifestyle choice given my work situation here and that sort of thing. So
you don't want to just let anybody follow you that can
correct.
hit you with a clown emoji after your bet loses.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, I've been there. Trust me. It's I'm too old for that now.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. All right, Steak, Vikings fan. You've had a pretty good read on your team. This
following up Freddie is tough, but he said a lot of stuff that I feel just way smarter than I'm going to say it. I agree with what he said. I do not think Minnesota's defense is shutting down Jared Goff today. Mm-hmm. And I love Sam Darnold passing over. I was actually going to tell Style I really strongly disagree with one of his plays and really strongly agree with one. So I'll go with the one I strongly disagree with. I think it's the Sam Darnold show today. And you said it, you like Justin Jefferson, call it as square as you want. He averages damn near 140 yards a game against the Lions. I know he hasn't played a game with Sam Darnold against the Lions, but Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. I keep seeing that clip on my TikTok of him shit talking that Lions defensive back. I ain't seen no film on you. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
He torches the Lions. I think he has a big day. I also like Jordan Addison. So like I said, Freddie kind of said it. Vikings weapons I like. I'm not fully buying the Brian Flores defense against Jared Goff. I think he does enough. I think the Lions score 20 plus. So if you want to say that means I like the over, maybe I do. And then Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is scoring. David Montgomery got his contract last week. Really awesome story. I feel like he kind of like embodies the city of Detroit. Hardworking dude. Not like I'm just going to be honest. David Montgomery isn't super talented. He doesn't do anything that amazes you. He's fucking strong. Don't get me wrong.
Strong as shit, dude.
He's brutal in the red zone, and he's obviously awesome. I have nothing bad to say about him, but he's a cool story. Jahmyr Gibbs is the flashy guy. And I think I think Jahmyr Gibbs, did he score 2 or 3 times last week?
I don't know.
2 or 3. He at least scored twice minimum. I can tell you that. He had his party, celebrate his contract. Cool story. Jahmyr Gibbs. I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs' day.
Can I say something real quick?
Of course.
Just want to chime in. I know we're a little behind pace here, but CeeDee Lamb traditionally did good against Detroit too, and we see what happened last week. So
we got shut down.
A whole lot of repetition there, but I'm thinking that Detroit does have some momentum.
So. It is. Here's one question. Yeah, you could say have momentum on the road, shutting down the Cowboys to not scoring a touchdown is definitely very impressive. I think that's a fair point, but I will say this. Mike McCarthy's brain against Kevin O'Connell's brain, and Kevin O'Connell off a bye. I would be scared if I was the Lions defense trying to scheme for that. The only other thing is the depth chart for the Lions, and I'm hoping one of the Lions fans can tell me if Carlton Davis is going to be lined up on Justin Jefferson. Carlton Davidson, I'm a Bucks fan, and he was on the Bucks for a couple of years. We drafted him, I think, out of Auburn. He would show a lot of potential at times, and then he would be very, very bad at times. But, Arnold versus Addison. Okay. If Davis is on Justin Jefferson, I'm going to make Justin Jefferson my largest play, maybe of the season. Carlton Davis is not good against superstar wide receivers. Do you guys remember? I'm sure you don't follow the Bucks games as often as I do, but do you guys remember when Tyreek Hill had like 100 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter when the Chiefs played the Bucks in the regular seasons? I think Tyreek Hill had 200 yards in the first half. Never seen anything like it. That was all on Carlton Davis. They're not the same type of player, but if this is, I think this is Carlton Davis' first year as a Lions player. This is going to be the first time Justin Jefferson goes against him in a divisional match. I think it's the Justin Jefferson Joe. That is my square over. So it looks like on Underdog right now, 91.5 receiving yards. That's going to be the player that I lean into the most today. And he said, I laddered yards up to 120. Soft, make it 210. All right, let's keep moving. And we're a little behind, but that's okay. I don't have a hard rush today, but you guys can hop off whenever you need to. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think this is a very fun game to talk about. The Packers and the Texans. Packers -3, total 48.5. Steak has said it from basically all week. He says if it's a square over, he's squaring up, and he thinks it's the Jordan Love show. We're going with points. I have my concerns, but at the end of the day, I'm more than okay with it. I lean the Texans in this game. I think I'm kind of on an island there, but at least between us three, Steak and Greg seem to like the Packers a little bit more, and I'm okay. The more I think about it, I'm okay not fading Matt LaFleur right now. I think he's kind of in his bag, and I'll give him his credit. But I don't know. I mean, maybe getting points with CJ Stroud is the comfortable side. The fact they still don't have Nico Collins made me think it's a little bit contrarian, but I think somebody went down for the Packers in this game. I don't really have a game script. I don't have a strong lean, so I'll hand it off. Freddie, we could start with you this time. We'll go back around. Do you have anything in the Packers-Texans game?
From a prop point of view, and I haven't bet this yet, but I kind of like Jaden Reed today. He had a kind of similar to Kirk, where he had a quiet game last week. I think only like 25, 30 yards. But I think this matchup is much better for him, given the, I guess, style of defense he's going to be seeing. The Texans love to run cover 3, cover 4, so his zone schemes over 50% of the time. So they're like a top 10 zone team. And if you look at Reed right now, he's fifth, I think, best in yards per route this season against zone, with a team high target share. So I think, whether whoever's been playing at quarterback, because there's been some different faces in there this year for the Packers, he's been their main guy against zone looks. So I think, again, maybe profiles is a game where you buy low on a guy who has obviously incredible talent, who has had some great games, but maybe, I guess, in recency bias wise, people want maybe the more flashy Christian Watson because he, big playability, or some of the other guys that they've had show up there recently. So that'd be my look here. I think it'll be a great game. I do wonder, I couldn't really find an angle to bet this. I do think both quarterbacks probably find success, so don't hate her over at all. But I think from a prop point of view, I like Reed to kind of bounce back and go over his receiving yards. Not sure what it is, but I like him today against the defense he's going to be seeing.
Well, he saw a lot of looks. He's actually gotten 6 and 8 targets, so that's good. He was 6 for 6 in catches, only 28 yards. That's interesting. But just before that, 78 yards, 139 yards. So he's certainly got the ability to go off. And his receiving yards are 57.5. Wow, rushing and receiving is 67.5. So he must get involved with some trickery.
And that would probably be my look, actually, because he does have he does get some of these zone plays, whether it's the sweep plays. So he does have definitely some upside there with his rush ability. So if I was going to bet anything, I'd probably go receiving plus rush if that's an option, and it kind of gives you both avenues to perhaps get over the number.
Sandy, good morning. He said he's a Packers fan. He says he gets 1 to 2 handoffs minimum a game. Always play rush and receiving with Jaden Reed. All right, got it. Style, anything on the Packers Texans?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't really have too much of a lean on the actual game. I mean, I have a slight lean on the Packers, but it's not anything for me to throw any units on it yet. As far as player props, I do like Freddy's Reed a lot. I also, on the other side, so I kind of have on both. I do think Jordan Love gets his longest pass completion today. Okay. I think he's been nailing that. I think he has a breakout play, throws a bomb. I know last week's game against Arizona was kind of uneventful. I mean, I didn't think it was the best game ever. But I do think Jordan Love has over his longest pass completion. And I still think Joe Mixon has a game. I know typically Green Bay is pretty good at defending against the run. But when you look at his receiving yards, I think that's very doable for Joe Mixon. Of course, I'd rather just, like Steak said earlier, I forgot what player was talking about, but why not just take both his rushing and receiving yards together, which is at 86.5.
86.5 here on Underdog.
Kind of co-sign on the over. So these plays go hand in hand with that. Jordan Love, longest reception, and Joe Mixon over rushing receiving.
Okay. All right. Joey Dump says Stroud over has hit 3 of 5. The 2 times were blowout wins. Oh, interesting. So the 2.
I assume he means yards.
I would assume he meant that too. And in this case, I don't see it being a blowout win. So perhaps he's indicating that he likes Stroud over yards. Drake May beats the Jags today. They might have to cancel the season. Yeah, I mean, I think it could happen. I see him moving the ball here. I kind of like the Patriots uniforms, all white. All right, Steak. It's the Jordan Love show today. Sandy, listen up. I know you're going to be happy to hear this as a Packers fan. Tell me what you like in terms of a player prop.
I like Jordan Love. I agree. With
Well, yeah, I guess you do.
I agree with what you guys said about Jaden Reed. The Packers wide receiver room, though, it's just interesting to me. Christian Watson's been hurt. Romeo Doubs had a weird personal thing where he got suspended. Then he came back and caught 2 touchdowns. But the one constant has been Jaden Reed. And even last week you said it, like, yeah, he had 28 yards, his worst game of the season, but he had 6 catches, didn't break one. Obviously, when you play like Jaden Reed, you need to break one. He didn't. Jordan Love threw 4 touchdowns and 250 yards. And honestly, he did that in like 2.5 quarters. He didn't have to do anymore. He was probably on pace for a monster game. I don't think he's going to get to take the last quarter and a half off against the Texans. I think it's going to be a close game. That's why I like the over. I liked it at 47.5. It's bumped up to 48.5. I mentioned in our players only meeting that it's not as square as it seems. 8 out of the 10 Texans and Packers games have went under this number. And so I agree with Joey Dumps. I think CJ Stroud has a big day. I like Tank Dell if you're asking me what Texans player I'd want to back directly. But my favorite is Jordan Love. Anyway, you want to back him. Touchdown passes, passing yards, longest completion. Love the look from style. But I think you get a monster day, probably from both quarterbacks, but slight lean to Jordan Love.
Okay. I kind of like everything you guys have said. I'm kind of like, I'm not going to ever be fading Joe Mixon for whatever reason. I feel like that was like kind of an under the radar signing by the Texans. They made a lot of moves. We know Diggs was probably the biggest one, and Joe Mixon leaving the Bengals. I certainly didn't think it was going to be that big of a loss. In fact, I even invested in Zach Moss rushing touchdowns. And I'm looking like a fool right now. It's kind of like Joe Mixon seems to be that guy with, I don't even know if a chip on his shoulder is the right way to put it, but he's certainly somebody I would consider. Jaden Reed, now that I'm looking at it, the rushing receiving yards are very intriguing. And if this is going to be a big scoring game, I can definitely see, as Sandy was saying, maybe one of those handoffs going large. Yeah, I'm good with the over. I'll probably just play the over. I don't know that I'm going to get involved with the props because I feel like the one I'm going to pick is going to be the one that fails me. Okay, here's kind of an ugly game, but maybe there's a potential here to find something in the Eagles and Giants. I'm shocked. I feel like I haven't heard too much talk about this Saquon Barkley revenge game going into MetLife and playing his former team. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just not following the right people. But total at 43, the Eagles are -3 on the road. I think they were 3.5 at one point. The concern here, it looks like they may have opened 4.5, although I never really know with these Action Network numbers. So do your own research. But total 44 down to 42.5. The Eagles have been just pathetic, in my opinion. I think that you coming out of the bye week against the Browns defense and only scoring 20 points is just embarrassing. They didn't cover that game. We had them a little fluky with the blocked field goal, but whatever. Nick Sirianni is chirping the fans. I think he came out and apologized. The Eagles are just a weird team, kind of in a weird place. I don't want to do anything or go anywhere near them. But I got to tell you, I mean, if everybody in the world is going to be on Saquon Barkley, I'm happy to join them. But I don't see anybody talking about Saquon all week. And maybe that's because the Eagles have let people down so many times. And also, I was on Saquon last week. I thought he was going to have a great day running the ball against the Browns. Every time I looked, it was Saquon running on first down for 1 yard. I mean, I don't know if that's just the offensive line not getting any push. And then you see the clip of him on that 3rd and 1. Catching the ball or 2nd and 1 and not lowering his shoulder to get the first down. He ran out of bounds short. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but this could be a breakout game for him, in my opinion, in a really obvious spot to do it. So it would be Saquon or nothing for me. And we can switch it up here. Steak, do you have anything in the Eagles and Giants?
I know I like the Eagles.
You do?
I think this is the buy low spot on the Eagles personally. Neighbors back in and like everything you said, this is the buy low spot on the Eagles. Nick Sirianni's a clown. And I do like the Eagles. Like you said, I've heard probably more than you've heard about Saquon Barkley revenge game because I've seen it. I'll be honest with you. I'd even go as far as to say quite a bit.
Yeah, Side says I'm living under a rock. Okay, so you have seen it quite a bit.
Yeah, I've seen it quite a bit, and I still think it's going to happen.
Okay,
I do. Yeah, and as far as the Giants, I don't know that I want to back a Giants player here. I think Malik Neighbors is the obvious one. But yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with the backfield. It looks like for the first time this year, they'll have both Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary, unless I missed a late scratch. So I don't want to touch one of those guys. So I'll square up with Saquon Barkley.
18 carries for 47 yards is just beyond pathetic. It's just pathetic. And again, I don't know if it's Saquon or the offensive line. I haven't watched the film, but yeah. Okay. So you're down to back the square Saquon revenge game. That's fine with me. By the way, I think it should be noted there might be an injury to the Giants. I thought I heard something about Dexter Lawrence. I don't know if he's in or out. Touchdown Patriots, by the way. Style, anything on? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Who scored the touchdown?
Who's 39? Lawrence Maroney? I'm kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Who is 39 on the Patriots?
Is it Ramondre Stevenson?
Yes.
It is. Hold on.
I think so.
Oh, Jermichael Hasty.
Jermichael Hasty. Oh my God.
Steve probably had that first touchdown.
Yeah, of course he did. Style, you're an Eagles fan. What do you think about your boys today? Are they going to get up for this divisional game on the road? And Sirianni going to save his job?
I don't know, man. It's tough to say. It's so hard to back them right now.
No
man,
confidence in Philly.
I know, man. It sucks to say too, because I mean, you're absolutely right what you're saying about him. My whole take is obviously you could back Saquon. I mean, you have to back Saquon. And obviously, divisional game. He's going against his old team. He has to get it done today. However, I will say this: the Giants' defensive line is no joke. Their pass rush is no joke. Their whole D line's no joke. I know even with Thibodeau out, they were getting things done. So I can't necessarily say I like Saquon over any type of like rushing yards or anything like that, but I can definitely see him punching one in the end zone at the close. On the other side of the ball, I like Singletary, man. Singletary's back. I've been big on backing him this year. Like you said, I know that he's sharing the backfield a little bit, but I think he gets some carries. And Malik Neighbors is back. I don't necessarily think that means too much. No offense to no offense to anybody, but everybody knows Daniel Jones is terrible. I mean, at least I think he's terrible. I'm sorry if I
he's playing much better lately, though. I'm number one on the Daniel Jones hate train. I am the conductor. He has been playing very competent football lately, but yes,
goodness, dude.
He's still bad. Oh, he did throw an interception last week, but he's still bad.
You didn't see the interception he threw. It was crazy, bro. He was at like the 20-yard line and threw it straight up in the air. But anyway, I'm not, here to point fingers. That's my take, man. Obviously, how can you not back Saquon today? Obviously, I'd put him in for it any time, but I'm not putting him over rushing yards. I don't like Singletary on the other side of the ball.
Singletary, you like. Saquon, you co-sign. Okay, fair enough. Freddie, anything in the Eagles game?
I don't
real
have
quick
a
before Freddie goes. Sorry, guys. After this take, I do got to head out of here because I got to head down to Orlando. So
okay,
after this, I'll say.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I played the over in this game, actually 42.5. So maybe a bit against the Sharks here because it's been bet down from 46.5. But a few reasons. Neighbors being back, I think, will lead to some continued success. Even if you look at last week, the Giants' offense was a top 10 success rate, but they kind of stalled out in the red zone. And if you just look right now, they're, I think, second worst in points per game, like 16 points per game. But if you look at some of the expected stats, they're expected to have 5 points more, which is basically says they're second. They rank second in points below expectations. So you expect positive regression there. And I think with Neighbors back, and Philly has been bad on early down EPA, bottom 5, they've given up some explosive passes. They're 26th in explosive pass rate allowed, which is why I think Neighbors matters here to set up some scoring. On the other side, you mentioned Barkley. I think why he's getting love is the Giants are dead last in explosive rush rate allowed, so they allow some big plays. Like they may kind of limit him on most of the touches, but I do think he breaks at least one. And one thing about this Giants defense is teams are moving the ball. So the Giants are 23rd in success rate, but they're 5th in the red zone defense at limiting touchdowns. I think that's hard to maintain as the season goes along. If you're allowing teams down, they're particularly talented teams that have big receivers like an AJ Brown and then a talented runner. I do think Philly kind of breaks through today, and I wanted to kind of buy the bad news with Sirianni and everyone kind of the shitstorm all week where people are saying, the Eagles are done, they look terrible. I think they come out today and look much better. So the fact that I'm on the over, I don't have a prop, but the one that had my eyes was Goddard's replacement, Grant Calcaterra, the tight end. He looked pretty explosive last week, and if you look at an area that teams have been targeting against the Giants defense has been the middle. They've allowed the second highest pass rate across the middle. So I do think the tight end might be an area where nobody's looking at today because Goddard's out. But I do think Calcaterra could be a guy that could go over maybe a low number. It's probably like in the low to mid 20s. And, last week he was 4 for 67, I think.
Yep.
So I think he's a guy nobody knows anything about, but I think it's a decent matchup. And I think could be someone Hurts looks at, particularly if both those edge rushers are in. Burns and Lawrence were both limited all week. But if they're both good, you're going to want to get the ball out of his hands early. And who better for a quarterback is, a big tight end. So that would be my prop angle, but I'm probably not going to bet that. I'm just going to sit on the over and hope I'm right on that.
Okay. So just to kind of summarize, you like the over, but you see it more so from the side of Philadelphia. So you like Philadelphia's off.
Not so much. If you look at Philly, they're bottom 5 in both EPA on early downs. So their teams are moving the ball on first and second down, which I like for Daniel Jones. And they're bottom 5 in explosive pass rate allowed. So with Neighbors back in, I think he hits a couple of big plays, which again is going to lead to some points. Like I think the Philly defense is okay, but most of the games they're allowing teams to move it okay. And I kind of liked how the Giants have looked. They only scored 7 last week, but again, they were 8th best in success rate. So that tells me that everything looks good. They just stalled it in the red zone, and you get a big play guy back like Neighbors. He may not catch it, but you're damn be sure that their opponents have to account for him. So it probably opens up some other guys down there. And I just thought under the key number of 43, it was time to buy back on that because, there's just too much bad news going for the Eagles. And I think there's just too much talent there to consistently look maybe the issues they've had. So I think this is maybe higher scoring than some people expect, but I think I'm on an island there.
Okay. I dig it. Well, Snake, I see you bobbing your head. So, Style, you got to head out?
Yeah, I do got to head out.
Take it easy, my man. Thanks for joining. Have a great Sunday. You going to the Bucks game, by the way?
I don't know yet. TBD.
Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks, DJ, and thanks everybody tuning in to the Prop Talk Show.
Check out Style on TikTok, the Easy Money Sports. See you, Style. Thanks, dude. All right, guys. So just to wrap up here, over Stake, you lean Eagles, and we're Grant Calcaterra. I think it's fairly impressive that this guy filled in for Dallas Goedert, and 4 for 4 on targets and receptions, 67 yards, and even 1 catch against the Bucks for 26 yards. Okay. All right, good stuff. Let's keep moving. What do we got next? Tennessee and Buffalo. We had our other fellow resident Sharp on Friday, and he said his favorite play of the weekend is the under in this game. Looks like Buffalo was 9.5. I'm seeing, I don't know if covers is accurate. I'm seeing 10 now. Let me see. Yep. Nope. 9.5 at most places, 9 at FanDuel. The total is at 41.5. I think that when I watched the Bills and Jets game, I thought the Jets offense looked like it had a little bit more life, or I don't know, pizzazz to it, just in terms of the play calling. I thought they looked better overall, even despite only scoring 1 true touchdown, because the Hail Mary was pretty fluky. But I like the Bills defense. I think they got some guys, and I think if the Bills defense can stay healthy, they're a real threat to win the Super Bowl. So I am okay leaning into an under here. On top of that, I would say Will Levis is terrible. However, I think it's the Mason Rudolph show today. Yep. So I don't really know what to do in this game. I don't even know that there's a prop I would even consider going towards. But if I do recall correctly, Mid-Major Matt, I don't know if you're in here or not. It is 6:52 on the West Coast. I want to say he thought that the Titans would run the ball well with success. And on that note, Breece Hall did have his best game, I think, of the season against the Bills defense. So maybe there's something there with that between these 2 running backs and Pollard and Spears, or maybe under in a Titans player passing yards or something like that for Rudolph. I'm good on this. I'm going to stay away entirely. I don't even like a touchdown score or anything like that. I don't even know if Amari Cooper is playing. Steak, you have anything in Bills Titans?
Well, I'm pretty sure that Amari Cooper is playing. So
okay.
If he's not, what I'm about to say makes no sense. So I hope he is. I'm a huge Khalil Shakir guy.
Yeah, you are.
And it wasn't because I thought Khalil Shakir should be a team's wide receiver 1. I think we all agreed going into the year, unless Keon Coleman's remarkable, the Bills don't have a wide receiver 1. That was kind of the knock on them going into the year. Khalil Shakir, I think, is really, really good, but I don't think he's a wide receiver 1. So I'm almost more excited for Khalil Shakir to get to play with Amari Cooper than I am for Amari Cooper. And I've heard it all. Josh Allen just gels with his wide receiver 1. He'll be the only guy. Not really true. Gabe Davis had so many moments in Buffalo. Obviously, he had a bunch of games where he had 0 catches too, but he had a bunch where he had 3 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. I like buying into Khalil Shakir with it being Amari Cooper's first game in Buffalo. I think I'd probably go yards, but I'm also tempted to do receptions as well. And then, yeah, I agree with mid-major Matt. I liked Tony Pollard. Not saying I want to add him to the selection, but I agree with what he's saying. One last one I'll throw in there. Calvin Ridley, obviously he had the fit, the post-game fit. He had 8 targets with 0 catches or something like that with Will Levis. Wouldn't be surprised to see them force feed this guy the ball. I don't think he's a superstar by any means or anything special, but he's the wide receiver 1 that they paid $96 million or whatever it is. And I assume part of getting Mason Rudolph in there is to get this guy the fucking ball.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point. I didn't think about that. I was on Ridley last game. I thought we've seen this trend, and Cam is Money and Ollie One Putt has pointed this out to me on Twitter, but we've seen this trend where a player, if they are outspoken about not getting the ball, or you see something on the sideline happen, or even just a coach mention that we need to get this guy the ball, the following week they tend to get the ball. So I kind of leaned into that with Ridley last week, and it was abysmal.
Yeah.
And I saw the clip on Twitter somebody put together of, they said all 8 or 9 of Calvin Ridley's targets in quotes. I mean, they were pathetic passes.
The thing is, with Will Levis, you actually have to take everything you know about trends and stats and just throw it out the window because he's that terrible.
Yeah, that's a good point. Freddie, anything for you in Titans Bills?
I actually used the Titans in a teaser, so I teased them up to 15.5.
Okay.
So a bit ugly, but I saw the forecast could be sustained wind gusts. Situationally, I thought it was a bit of a tricky spot for Buffalo. 3 road games now coming back before they have to go back out west to Seattle. So I felt like maybe getting a few extra points there. And I like Rudolph as a Steelers fan. I saw him last year, and I guess for the last few years kind of stepping in. I feel like he's a guy who is less prone to the big mistake that Levis was making. And just to follow up on Ridley, I feel like Rudolph here, he throws a good back shoulder ball. I feel like one-on-one on the outside, even though the Bills have some talented corners, I do think he'll make some plays today. And Pollard makes all the sense in the world. Like if you watched how the Bills did against the Ravens and the Texans, they do struggle. That's where they're most susceptible. But I do wonder if the game script might get away from Pollard. That's what scared me away there. So like I said, I used the Titans in a teaser. So I think that's enough exposure for me personally. If I was going to try a prop, it will be Ridley, just because from watching Rudolph, he's a much more accurate deliverer of the football. He does stand in the pocket and he's not afraid to take a hit. And I do think, like looking at a guy like Pickens last year, those guys had a pretty good rapport and hit some big plays. And I know they're not the same type of player, but I feel like Ridley's strengths kind of match up a little bit more with like a Pickens. So I feel like this is a Ridley game. And if I'm wrong on the Titans tease, that means they're losing by 15 to 20 points, which means the ball is going to be in the air. So I feel like you target a Tennessee receiver. I think he's the guy because Rudolph is a much more accurate deep ball thrower. And I think this is a game to get him going.
I think that's a great point. I've got both of those put in here at the moment. I like Calvin Ridley over over yards. Longest reception is 19.5 if you want to get cute there. And then Khalil Shakir, Steak. I think I like receptions. Okay. I either one's probably fine with me, but I like your angle. You've been pretty good at reading Shakir. Yeah. And then just out of curiosity, do you guys all like the under in this game as well? I didn't hear any mention of it.
I would hope, just because
of the wind and whatnot, right?
Yeah, like it seems like, and that could be like a counterpoint to playing passing prop overs, but
right,
and I guess it could be a point to play the Pollard, but it's hard to know like this far out how the conditions really are. But yeah, I kind of projected or think it could be a bit of a sleepy spot for Buffalo. Like I debated playing their team total under, just because, again, situationally a tough spot. Titans have a very good rush defense under Joe Brady. That's what the Bills have tried to do. And you get those new receiver kind of hierarchy in there now. There could be a bit of adjustment between like where guys are lining up, who's getting the ball when. Like maybe you get a little bit of an adjustment game. But maybe I'm dead wrong, and Josh Allen has the Superman cape off. And I had the game turned off 10 minutes in, but I feel like it's a little bit of a tricky spot for them.
Yep. Okay, good stuff. Steak, do you have official play on side or total or no?
My strong lean is the Titans.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right, next one. Disgusting in a weird way. Bengals and Browns. Looks like the Bengals. I thought they got up to 6. Let's see if I can find them on action. What they're at now. The Bengals on the road in Cleveland, laying 5.5 points. Total in this one 41.5. Man, that just seems so low with a game Joe Burrow's involved in. And I know on the flip side, you would say that probably seems about right for a game Deshaun Watson is involved in because he's fucking terrible. I don't want to go anywhere near this game. One of my biggest plays this offseason is the Browns to miss the playoffs. I'm obviously feeling pretty good about that. I just hope they continue to crash and burn. And just looking here, it does appear there was a total of 41 earlier, Bengals and Patriots. So we're back to that low total with the Joe Burrow game. That game did soar under. I don't know that this could be a good game for props in any which way. The one thing to point out before I hand it off, the Bengals defense, after calling a players-only meeting, did perform much better and have their best game of the season, I would think. As Freddie pointed out, the Giants had success. They just couldn't get the ball in. They only scored 7 points. Now the Bengals are going to go on the road to play Cleveland. You'd have to imagine that they do not want to lose to the Browns and the Patriots in the same season. So, but Kevin Stefanski, I think he's got a pretty good record against the Bengals. I'm going to run and take a piss real quick. Steak, lead us off, and then we'll finish up with Freddie on Bengals-Patriots. I'm sorry, Bengals-Browns.
Yeah, so I don't have a lot. Obviously, I'm with you. I'm with DGen. I am a Browns under investor. So if there's one spot I got right this year, this feels like the one. Deshaun Watson is absolutely as bad as I thought he was. He hasn't been good in so long. But this weird divisional game where the Bengals keep losing games they should win, I just can't get to a side really. But I will say for a player prop, I think we've sort of been seeing the torch pass from Zach Moss to Chase Brown. And if the game script goes the way it's supposed to go, where it's an ugly game that the Bengals lead most in, I do see a big day from Chase Brown. I don't want to directly back his rushing. I think I'd go rushing and receiving. He's the kind of guy who can take a screen pass to the house. As far as the total, I guess I agree with DGen on it being a little low for a Joe Burrow game, but I just don't know any given game if you can count on Deshaun Watson to score more than 14 points. So yeah, I mean, this might be the game on the board I like the least as far as sides and totals go.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's for me, I would expect the Browns to run the ball. Nick Chubb will be back, albeit on a pitch count. They now have 4 of their 5 offensive linemen healthy. That's been a big issue for them all year. Like, since Stefanski's taken over, they want to be kind of a win the line of scrimmage team with their D-line and then the run game. Haven't been able to do that this year since the O-line has been banged up. And obviously, it's just they've gotten the game scripts where they've been trailing so much, and that's just not going to work with Watson right now. I think they're going to find success on the ground. Like a lot of people assume they've given up now since Cooper's been traded. That might be true, but I feel like a home divisional game against a rival, I think they're going to at least get their best today. And I'm not convinced the Bengals defense, even though they're healthy now, BJ Hill and Hendrickson are going to be a top 10 unit. So I do think the Browns will probably find some success in the trenches. Am I willing to bet money on that? No. But I do think the total moving down maybe reflects the Browns want to lean on that run game and chew clock and keep Burrow on the sideline. And I think they're going to find success there with Chubb on his limited snaps and some of their other guys that they'll rotate in. I guess when I look on the other side, Burrow has traditionally had some trouble in this stadium and against the Browns front. Who knows if that'll carry over to today. But I do think if Cleveland can find success in the run game, they can keep their edge rushers a bit more fresh and maybe make this game a little bit more ugly than maybe some anticipate. So, I lean Browns if I could have got 6 or better, but I don't want to have my money on Deshaun Watson anymore. So I just left it. Didn't bet a prop either, but the guy I'd be interested in looking at was Cedric Tillman for Cleveland. With Cooper's trade, somebody's going to get those extra snaps and targets. And Tillman's a 3rd rounder from last year who they're very high on. I followed this division closely as a Steelers fan. A lot of press coming out about him in the spring and even through camp, and really hasn't had a good start to the season, but I'd expect him to get some extra looks. People assume it's going to be Jerry Jeudy and David Njoku who's coming back. But you can probably get Tillman today for somewhere like 15.5 receiving yards in a game where game script was, like Steak said, they're probably going to be trailing. And you get a guy who the market doesn't really respect or know much about. So these are the spots I look to jump in, because he could be lined at the high 20s or 30s going forward if his role has increased dramatically. So this would be one like you look at your 15.5 over, or even like your alt like Foster Moreau on Thursday, where, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 50, and I'm looking at it now, that's like plus 750. So again, Watson got to get him the ball, but I feel like this is a spot where you can take a chance with a guy who has done nothing all year, but now his opportunity is going to be so much more. So I kind of like Cedric Tillman to break out.
I just want to add, I'm actually really happy you said that, because
I know what you're going to say.
When the trade happened, I told myself there's just zero chance, no matter who else is playing wide receiver for Cleveland, I'm ever backing Jerry Jeudy as a wide receiver.
I agree.
And I've backed Elijah Moore a few times. I'd probably say I'm more unsuccessful than successful with that. So, yeah, I mean, I like that look because, like you said, somebody has to catch a pass for Cleveland. My last question is Jerome Ford playing?
I think so, but I know he was on the injured list the week, so I didn't have a whole lot of action in the game, so I didn't really pay close attention to that.
I don't see him on underdog, so maybe he's not.
I wanted to see if I could get cute with a Browns backup running back real quick before Chubb. The chat's saying Ford's out. I don't know who the other guy is. Doesn't matter. He's not going to get added to the entry. But like you said, Chubb on a pitch count. I know we're all excited he's back. I'm not sure this would be the game to back him. More so, I would back whoever's getting the carries behind him just for one game only.
Pierre Strong Jr.
Yeah.
I don't never heard of that guy.
That's the backup. Yes, you have.
Pierre Strong Jr.?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you've heard of him. I want to say maybe he was on the Colts. Does that sound right? Or the Patriots?
Never heard of him in my life. Why would I lie about that? Cedric Tillman, Texas?
No, Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee. Got it. Okay. Yeah, Pierre Strong Jr. apparently he had 8 carries for 43 yards last week. So
I like him today.
That's your guy, 21.5. And then Cedric Tillman, as Freddie pointed out, 16.5 receiving yards. If you want to try to get in on that. Okay, next game on the board. This is the one I'm looking forward to the most because Freddie, I didn't know you were a Steelers fan, by the way.
Indeed, big Steelers fan. Born into a Steelers family, so I've followed the team my whole life and probably absorbed way too much of my week worrying about and following the team. But yeah, no, big Steelers fan.
I can't feel any sympathy or empathy for a Steelers fan who has nothing but winning seasons and a couple of Super Bowls to smile about. But I will say this: I can't wait to talk about Jets Steelers. The Seahawks Falcons. So I'm a Bucs fan, and after the Bucs lost in overtime to the Falcons, I just want the Falcons to go out there and have somebody punch them in the face. Unfortunately, it didn't happen in Carolina, although the Panthers offense did okay for the most part. But now the Seahawks come in with couple extra days to prepare. And a Geno Smith led offense that I think is going to put up some points. I believe Steak agrees, although when he wakes up on Sunday, sometimes he has a change of heart. So we'll see what happens. The Seahawks are +3. They are our other guy, Greg's best bet, and I love it. Greg's been having a great year with his best bets. He's 4-2. We've been doing poorly the last 2 weeks. I feel good about this week, to be honest with you. But I like the Seahawks. I like their offense. I still am worried about their defense a little bit. I'm sure the Falcons can score some points. Maybe it's an obvious over at 51.5. I'm not going to get involved with the total in this game, but I really want to hone in on a player prop. Now, all week, Greg Steak and I had talked about Kenneth Walker. And but at the same time, still acknowledging that I think Justin Simmons for the Falcons might be hurt, and maybe there's an opportunity for Geno to have a big game. But we really like Kenneth Walker. Then I get a text from Steak yesterday that it sounds like Kenneth Walker might miss this game with an illness. Does anybody have an update on that situation? I don't see him on underdog, which is very concerning. I would now have to imagine that I'm really left with no choice. I'm going to go in on the Geno game. And then I started to think about it a little bit more, kind of what I've referenced just a game or two ago. I think, I don't remember who we were talking about, but somebody bitching about not getting the ball. Oh, Calvin Ridley. I think it's the DK Metcalf game. And again, maybe I'm not on an island here with that because we've seen this all season. Oh, geez, I just spilled my coffee all over my dining table. But he pulled the headset on. You heard him say, Grubb, who's the offensive coordinator, can we throw the ball past the sticks? Fuck. I think they're going to. I think the offense is going to have a field day, truthfully. And the Falcons also have had a stretch of divisional games. Well, they got a revenge match on deck with the Bucks next week. They got to go to Tampa, which I can't wait. Stop shaking your head, Steak. I know what you're going to say. The Falcons are looking ahead to the Bucks. Listen,
They're not.
Listen, all I got to tell you is I'm hopeful that the Seahawks come in and kick the Falcons in the mouth. And on that note, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. Seahawks team total, something DK Metcalf. And if Kenneth Walker plays, something Kenneth Walker. We'll switch it up here. We'll end with Steak. Freddie, do you have anything in the Seahawks Falcons?
Seahawks was the team I teased up with the Titans. So I have Seahawks +9 here. I think they're certainly live to win, but when I saw later in the week that some of their DBs are ruled out, like Woolen, I think Atlanta can continue to move the ball too. So I was more confident in them being in a tight game and staying within 9 than I was 3, meaning they almost had to win outright here. So much like you're saying, I think Seattle scores. A lot of talk this week about Geno's splits indoors. A lot of talk this week about Geno's splits against with clean pockets. Pretty regularly noted that Atlanta's biggest weakness defensively is the lack of pass rush. I think they're second worst in pressure rate. So I think you give Geno time with these receivers on a fast track, I think they're going to find ways to score. And if you look at Atlanta at this point in the year, you can look at some of this regression stuff. Atlanta's actually like bottom 5 in percentage of drives allowed to reach the red zone, but they're top 10 in drives that in the red zone that don't allow a point. So basically they're allowing a bunch of drives to go down there, but they're getting a little bit fortunate in teams not cashing in. I think that sort of stuff catches up with you, and you get some good playmakers down there, like obviously DK that you mentioned, and Smith and Jigba and whatnot. I think they probably cash in on that today. I think Atlanta scores too, just because of the injuries to the Seattle secondary. And I agree on Metcalf because if you look at Atlanta's performance this year, they're actually dead last in the NFL in DVOA allowed against number 1 receivers. And then if you just isolate Metcalf and Geno games in domes inside, I think he averages close to 90 yards a game, a bunch of touchdowns. Put it all together, I think both teams move it. I think Metcalf's going to have a big day, and I'm hoping Seattle at least stays within 9 to help my teaser. But yeah, I like success for both offenses, and I think Metcalf is probably the guy to target.
Love it. Real quick, Steak, before you start talking, it was Kenneth Walker's birthday, and he's just a little hungover. If that's the case, I'm all in on a hungover running back. Steak, go ahead.
In this game only, I would be comfortable pivoting to Charbonnet if Kenneth Walker was out. I wouldn't normally say that because I'm one of the people who doesn't believe they're similar skill sets at all. I know when they drafted Charbonnet, everyone's like, oh, it's going to be a 50-50 backfield, and Charbonnet is just as good as Kenneth Walker. He's not. But in this game, as a fill-in, if it happens, I'd be comfortable backing him. And then the weapon I like for Seattle is JSN. It's not that I don't think DK will have a big game. I just don't know that I want to bet on DK big games. I see all the points. I just think with everything everybody said, I feel like it could be the JSN game more so than the DK game. And he's had glimpses, but I don't know that we've gotten consistent football from JSN. We know he has the talent. And I think this defense might be a perfect opportunity for it. What is it at? Yards?
His yards are 52.5.
Yeah, I love that over. Absolutely love it.
He's only gone over that once in his last 3 games.
I love it.
And barely. 53.
Today's the day.
Today's the day for JSN. He had 9 targets last game against San Francisco. They're certainly throwing him the football. 9, 7, and 12 targets are quite the. I mean, that's right up there with DK. So I mean, W target share from Geno there. Wow. Okay. All right. So you're saying it's JSN day, Freddie. I was cleaning up some spilled coffee, but I think you co-signed DK Metcalf.
Yeah. Given I think they're going to throw the ball. Geno will have time to kind of work through his progressions, and the Falcons struggles against number 1 wideouts. Like I said, they're last in the NFL in EPA allowed to number 1 wideouts. And teams have been throwing it on Atlanta right there. Given the lack of pass rush, I think opponents are throwing it at a top 5 rate above expectations. So, whether it's Geno props or it's one of his receivers, I think, it profiles as a game where they're going to be throwing the ball. And I think they're going to need to throw it to keep up, because the absences in their secondary probably makes it likely that Atlanta has success too. So, yeah, it's probably be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think so too. Is that game at 4:00? It's at 1. I'm not gonna be able to watch it. Okay. This one's a gross one. If you guys don't have anything, we can make it pretty quick. But Carolina, Washington, I think just for a simple, this is too many points read, I would probably go Panthers here. Maybe it's contrarian, maybe it's not. Maybe it's telling that a rookie quarterback is laying 10 points. I know that the Washington Commanders have been awesome offensively. Are they going to keep it up every single game? Is there going to be an off game? Is there going to be one where they kind of slip up and overlook the Panthers? Maybe. It would be Panthers or nothing for me here. On that note, I saw, if you guys follow Brian Baldinger on Twitter, he does Baldy breakdowns. He was pointing out that the Panthers offensive line has actually been doing quite well in run blocking schemes. And I know Hubbard's been having pretty decent games. And now they have Steak, you said it the other day, Jonathan Brooks maybe coming into the mix here. So if the Panthers find success running the ball and can maintain possession and keep the Commanders off the field, I certainly like them to keep it within 10. Total's pretty high at 51. I don't really have a strong lean in a player prop. Steak, do you have any sort of game script or anybody you lean into in this game?
I lean into Commanders.
You would?
Yeah, for sure. Offense for sure. I don't like the Panthers in this game.
Okay.
I think it's actually, I might be in the minority, but I think this line is a ton of respect for the Commanders. Just being 7-point underdogs to the Ravens and then being 10-point favorites against the Panthers is quite the disparity. I don't know if switch home field. I don't know. Does anyone think that the Ravens would be minus 14 against the Panthers? I just think it's the first line they've gotten respect. I'm going to buy into that. I also think the total's pretty high, but Panthers offense has been very capable with Andy Dalton. You could pick your fighter as far as the Commanders go. I think it might just be Jaden Daniels, one way or another. And also, every week it seems that Terry McLaurin makes it clear that he's wide receiver 1. And obviously he's been pretty incredible for a guy who's had some of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL throwing him the ball, still puts up 1,000 yards a season. I don't think that this Commanders offense slows down at all today.
Okay, fair enough. Freddie, anything?
I actually played the over in this game, 51.5.
Wow.
Going to what Steak said, I think Washington continues to move the ball here. A lot of absences in Carolina's defense with injuries. I believe 36 points a game the last 3. I don't really see a reprieve here unless they just get fortune of turnovers in the red zone or, that sort of stuff. You never know. I guess the guy I'd be looking at, again, I played the over, so I'm not going to play a prop, but as another look to McLaurin, I kind of like Noah Brown. He actually led the team last week in target share and is kind of has big playability in a game where I think they're going to score. You probably get a little bit more line value, a little bit of a lower kind of threshold to cross. So I think he probably might be a guy, but like Steak said, it could be just a Daniels game too. So I'm not quite sure who to isolate. So I think I'll stick with the over. And I guess why I think Carolina can move it a bit is Allen was just placed on IR, Commander's best D lineman. They're going to be missing a couple other guys out there too that are either out or also on IR. So I think, as you mentioned there, sets up for Hubbard to be able to run the ball a little bit if they can keep the game script sensible. And then I think Dalton can do enough against like a bad secondary where he's probably going to have a little bit more time due to some of these injuries. So I think I'm hoping, or I project the Commanders to do a lot of the heavy lifting here, get into the 30s. But I think, Dalton in garbage time can be effective. One of the weaknesses to this Washington secondary is underneath. I think they're 30th in EPA. And if you look at schematically what Carolina tries to do, they're top 10 in pass rate over the middle. So I think it's kind of a comfortable schematic matchup where they can at least probably put 20 points on the board. And, that's what I liked most anyway, was an over. Washington keeps rolling. Carolina just does enough to get this probably over. 54 was kind of where I thought it was fair. So
okay,
I thought there was a bit of value for an over.
Real quick, let me read this Royal DM because it's about this game. I have the most random prop for you to look at. Makes zero sense. Look at Chuba Hubbard receiving yards. He's went under in the last 3. The line's been sitting at 15.5, and it just got bumped up to 21.5.
21.5?
It feels high for Chuba Hubbard, especially
receiving yards
with Jonathan Brooks coming back. That feels weird.
And again, you probably get a game script where they're trailing by double digits, and he gets more of these, probably like a soft 3 high defense to limit big plays, and you dump it off on early downs to kind of take your 5-6 yards. It makes a lot of sense to me. From a what you'd expect from a game script point of view, like his running ability makes sense, but if the game script gets out of the way, then the next best thing is some short passes on early downs as you just plod your way down the field. Washington will probably let them score in garbage time, but make them use 12 plays, that sort of thing. So
and I think I like it.
I think I do too. And look at these freaking Christian Kirk catch. There we go. Look at these catches. 5, 4, and 4 in the last 3 games. He's not getting any yards. But I mean, that's got to give at some point. You'd think he can get one for 8 to 10 yards, one of these catches. Also, I mean, it's just very impressive that he's able to do 92, 97, 100 yards, given how poorly the Panthers have been, not really having a lead really in any of these games. All right, good stuff there. Let's move. Here's a game that I am very interested in talking about, which sounds surprising. But Freddie, I believe you have a side in the Raiders-Rams. And after we had our exclusive players-only meeting, and the Raiders made our short list of teams that we wanted to bet on, although at the same time, we're trying to do a better job of not betting on bad teams, making smarter decisions. But this was just a spot we had a really tough time passing up. And then I see that it's on your card. And again, just collectively behind closed doors, we're like, all right, we got a smart guy on our side making a potentially bad decision. So I'll let you lead this one off. But we've got the Rams now laying 7.5 points. I don't know if that is an accurate line. Let me get to. It looks like it's 7 everywhere except FanDuel. FanDuel 7.5. Total 43.5. I believe Aiden O'Connell is still going to be the starter for the Raiders. So what got you to press the button on Vegas today?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, I watched the Raiders last week against the Steelers, and
that's right.
What wasn't a good performance. But I guess I look at this and a few things for me. Obviously, the Devontae trade, I think people assume it's, they're less talented, obviously, but this guy wasn't playing. And I think internally, based on all the local stuff, it feels like maybe a breath of fresh air now. They can move past this and move on. And I thought it was surprising whenever this trade went down midweek that this line moved like 1.5 points. And I sat there looking, and I was like, I can't justify. He wasn't even playing or contributing. Why is this line now moving 1.5 points? And once it got to a touchdown, I was basically just looking at it in the sense that I'm going to force the Rams to win by more than the touchdown here, just based on what I've seen and what my numbers are saying. And I think another thing that maybe gets overvalued is teams off a bye. If you just look at the last 5 years, you hear it all the time, extra prep off a bye, but McVay in his career is 4-5 off a bye with 3 outright losses. A favorite hasn't really shown to be, this extra prep god, so to speak, we like to talk about with college basketball sometimes. So I feel like maybe a little bit of overvalued there, too much reaction to the Adams trade. And then when I look at the Raiders, as bad as they were and can be, they played some tough defenses lately. The Steelers, Denver, Cleveland, some teams that have strong edge rushers. This week, not the same with the Rams. The Rams rank, toward the bottom of the NFL in a lot of metrics, whether it's EPA or pressure rate or whatever the case may be. So I feel like, it's a little bit of a step down in class for the offense. And I like the matchup in particular for Bowers, the tight end. The Rams are dead last in DVOA against tight ends. So you're probably not going to get a break on his receiving yards prop. It's probably juiced up now to reflect that he's now the number one guy, so to speak. So if I was going to play that, it would probably just be take a chance with an alt, like over 100 or something, just to see if you can get some good value on a good matchup. But when I look at the Rams, like they're a team that I don't think is necessarily a bad team, but I just feel like they're not the team that I want to be trusting covering a touchdown. So with all the bad news coming for the Raiders this week and everyone kind of potentially giving up on them. I just felt like 7 was too much. I feel like the Rams' best offense here also will be the rush game, which I think profiles to help a dog, keep the clock bleeding. Kyron Williams probably going to have a big day, but I feel like, again, I just felt like it was just too much movement given the bye, the Adams news. Cooper Kupp was back in the news. I felt like people were reacting to that. I don't think he's going to play. I think they're going to rule him out pregame. And I said that earlier the week. It just makes no sense with the game Thursday night for them to rush him back here in a game they probably should win anyway. So, the Raiders stink, no doubt about it. But I think the matchup with the tight end here and less pressure that O'Connell's going to face allows them to do just enough offensively. And I kind of like their defensive ends enough to cause enough pressure and enough kind of disruption on, the Rams passing game to just make this one a little bit more murky than people think, So I guess that I could be dead wrong, but I just felt there was a lot there that, the Rams just felt too easy to me. You know what I mean? Like everyone wants to just give up on the Raiders now, but I don't think necessarily this might be the week to do it.
No, I think as Steak has said before with your explanation, you kind of are saying everything we're thinking in a much smarter way. Steak, anything to add or subtract from that on why we're on the Raiders?
I mean, he kind of nailed it because I'm a Rams under better. I don't think the Rams are very good. I love Sean McVay, but let's be honest. I think we agree this season's probably a wash. Injuries to Puka and Cooper Kupp. I don't think anyone thinks they're coming back and making the playoffs. I sure don't. And Sean McVay is an ego guy, so he does get up to play guys like Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur. Do I think he necessarily gets up and coaches his best game as 7-point favorites against a pretty dead Antonio Pierce and the Raiders? Not really. I think it could be a sleepy game. And as far as the Raiders go, they do the opposite. Everyone's saying like, it's time to tank. Tom Brady's part of the ownership group now. Tank and get one of these top quarterbacks, which I don't know what fucking quarterback you're going to get in this class, but that's not the point. The Raiders don't do that. They always stick around when you think they shouldn't. And for some reason they go 7-10 when they really should have went 3-14 or 4-13 and got a much better draft pick. And then the last thing I'll add is Aiden O'Connell. He sits in the pocket. That's a horrible thing to do against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't necessarily think it's a horrible thing to do against the Los Angeles Rams. I think he'll find a lot more success sitting in the pocket against the LA Rams than he did against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they keep it close. I literally won't even be shocked if the Raiders won this game. I won't be shocked.
Yeah, I think that's where our head's at. I think they're a live dog. I think Freddie, you alluded to it as well. The Rams having a Thursday game coming up too. But Aiden O'Connell is a guy I played for most passing yards last week. I think about it a little bit more. It probably wasn't a great bet considering he would be under pressure. He had 40 attempts, but only 227 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I think I might go back to him, not to lead the day in passing, but over yards here. If you wanted to get involved, 219.5 passing yards for O'Connell, 1.5 passing touchdowns. Other than that, I can't do anything with Zamir White or any of the receivers, but I just maybe don't overthink it with another Brock. Why do I want to say Purdy? Brock Bowers day. So, all right. Well, we are all aligned there on the Raiders. Can't wait for that one. And as Freddie ended it with, I could be wrong. Yes. Emphasis on we could be very wrong. So please do not go out there and tail the Raiders thinking it's anywhere near some sort of lock, but live dog that nobody sees coming. All right. Niners and Chiefs. I think that I fucking nailed this earlier in the week because I just opened Twitter and what do you know? Look at who has a 10. Freddie, you probably are going to think this is silly. Maybe you don't even know what I'm going to be talking about here. But the betting queen has made herself a video. She's like, in a way, a female version of Trent. Book It with Trent, where if you see Trent on the play, you probably should feel a little uncomfortable. Although she was on a nice 5-unit run or 5-game run here of winning bets. But the 49ers are a 10-unit bet for the betting queen. Now, listen, I'm not saying she's going to win or lose this bet. But as I mentioned in our podcast clip, and Steak and Greg agreed with this, I love the Niners when I looked at this game. The Niners -1 against the Chiefs. And then I told myself, if I fast forward and come Sunday, I have a weird feeling that I think this game's going to be 50-50 because you got Patrick Mahomes on the other side, and that should attract some betting attention. I think if you fast forward, you're going to see everybody is on the Niners, fading Patrick Mahomes again at a plus price. That made me uncomfortable. I am by no means saying I am going to do the opposite and hammer the Chiefs. I don't even know that I'm going to bet on the Chiefs, but I did not make the Niners my best bet when at first glance I thought I really liked them. I'm going to stay off of this game. We do. I think Greg ended up saying he liked the under. I think that was kind of his take, under 47.5. I don't really know where I stand. I don't even know that I really can tell you that I see a game script other than Patrick Mahomes, maybe completions, maybe yards. I don't know. I don't even know who he's going to get the ball to. Obviously, we know Kelsey is still in there. Let's see. If we go to Mahomes, he is at, in this game, 266.5 passing and rushing, 34 passing attempts, 22.5 completions. I think it's going to be a Patrick Mahomes game. I think they're going to move the ball slowly and methodically down the field. And this Chiefs defense, man, it's fucking good. I think the Niners offense has looked awesome the last 2 weeks, but that's against the Seahawks. That's against the Patriots. I think they're going to be in for a little bit of a not a rude awakening, but like a little bit of a like slap in the face here with some good defensive scheme in play. So I'm okay with the under, and I think it's Mahomes completion. Steak, what are you doing in this game?
I'm going to take the Chiefs because of everything you said. I think Mahomes hasn't looked that great, and I guess we love to do this. We love to say he doesn't look that great in September or October when it fucking doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how he looks in September and October. He's the only guy who isn't playing for September and October. They're still winning games because they have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And I guess when you have Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and fucking Taylor Swift at all your games, you don't talk about how great the defense is playing, but it's a fucking amazing defense. So I'm fine with Greg's look on the under because I'm a huge Chiefs defense fan. But for me, my favorite play is the Chiefs.
Yeah,
right.
Mahomes, I think I saw earlier the week, 11-1-1 against the spread when it's a pick or an underdog. So I have no interest getting in front of that. I'm not going to bet the game personally myself. I just feel I can't find an edge, but I have no interest having any money against him in a situation like this. Maybe as a big favorite, sometimes you can find spots to play against KC, but until proven otherwise, good luck fading him, and I'll let other people do that. I guess the prop I would be interested in potentially is Kittle. You mentioned that the Chiefs defense is really, really good. Really talented corners like McDuffie, so they match up. All their metrics against outside wide receivers are great, but they're dead last in the NFL in adjusted target share against tight ends. So to me, that screams Kittle. He's coming off a solid game. I think a couple of touchdowns, 50, 60 yards on Thursday night, I want to say, against Seattle was their last game. So
2 touchdowns.
I think if you're going to play a prop, I'm not, but I think Kittle's the best matchup here from allowing San Fran to, move the ball down the field. That'd be my thoughts.
I know this is a ridiculous question to ask, but as you have Underdog put up, is Chris Conley on there?
I do have Underdog pulled up, and just before we go to look at Chris Conley, I was looking at Xavier Worthy rushing yards because I think that they might pull a trick play out of their ass after a bye week. Is he on the Chiefs or the Niners?
Niners.
Let's go take a look. San Fran. What position does he play?
Wide receiver.
Chris Conley. I never even heard of this guy.
I'm not going to give you my pitch if he's not on there.
Okay. Ricky Pearsall is.
What's Ricky Pearsall at?
Pearsall is 13.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I don't like him.
Conley is up for touchdowns.
That's it. Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Jawan Jennings is out. He's like probably the best wide receiver 3 in the NFL.
Yeah.
And Ricky Pearsall making his first start. I'm not really buying that, to be honest with you. I was more buying Chris Conley as kind of making a little name for himself as wide receiver 3. So I want to back him some way, but I don't think it would be to get into the end zone.
Okay. All right. Last game of the day. I'm looking forward to watching this. I'm going to miss the 1:00 slate, unfortunately, but I'm very happy to see that the Niners Chiefs is at 4 and then Jets Steelers. Could be an ugly game, but I'm looking forward to watching it. Freddie, as we mentioned, you're a Steelers fan. Steak and I disagree on this. Greg, who's not, doesn't do prop talk, but he's a Steelers fan as well. I think I think the the Jets have all the good news in the world right now with Devontae Adams. I wouldn't say in the world. They traded for Devontae Adams. And then on the flip side, obviously with the Salah firing 2 weeks ago, which, the fired coach narrative is becoming pretty popular. And I've been on that train for quite a while, but I stayed off of it last week. You could say the Jets had plenty of chances to win that game. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Big pass from Lawrence, and he got it.
Touchdown?
Wow. Not a touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr., maybe a 50-yard catch.
He's
maybe.
the fucking man. I'm going to hit that over yards by like week 10.
I got to tell you, that was one of the best passes I've seen Trevor Lawrence throw. Not even kidding. Just a straight route. Yep. Had him inside. Oh, wow. What a catch, too. Okay. Sorry to get sidetracked. I think it's the Jets. I do think it's the Jets, but I know there's reasons not to like the Jets. Freddie, we'll end it with you because I'd like to hear your thoughts at length here. Steak, are you officially going to be betting the Steelers? They are right now. I'm seeing their +2 total at 39.
I lean the Steelers. I don't know if I'm going to get there, but this is the kind of news I fade because I'm just not that excited, man, about Devontae Adams at 31 and Aaron Rodgers at 42 teaming back up. And unless he's going to play defense and special teams and all that other shit, I just don't know how much better it makes the Jets from – they're pretty bad. They've only been pretty bad. They have a win against the Titans, big whoop, and they've looked – really bad. And I just don't know. I feel like everyone's like fully back in because they fired Salah and they brought in Devontae Adams and Hassan Reddick just ended his holdout. And I don't know, man. I almost feel like it's just the two opposite teams. One who's getting too much respect and has shown you kind of over and over again that they're not very good. And then one who gets no respect at all and has showed you that they're at least at minimum above average. I don't understand the Justin Fields benching. I know Greg had his theory about an audition for 2 games for Russell Wilson before the bye. I'm honestly curious to hear what Freddie thinks about that. The reason I actually can't get there on the Steelers is because I really hate betting on Russell Wilson. I really do. And I just think he could do some hilarious things today. So I probably won't get there, but I aggressively lean Steelers.
Freddie?
Yeah, it's tough. Obviously with Russ coming in, it's very hard to project how things will look and how he's going to play. As a Steelers fan, I'm okay with them getting a shot just because I guess the ultimate goal is to try and win a Super Bowl, and I feel like they've seen what they need to see with Fields, and a lot of the metrics are very average. He has won some ball games, but at the same time, you want to see if Wilson can bring your offense to another level. I'm skeptical he can do that, but I don't think Fields is going to go into Arrowhead or go into Baltimore in the playoffs and probably win a game. Personally, he could, but I think they need to find out if there's something there with Ross or not. They can always go back to Fields. What that means for this game is, I guess, it's very hard to project how it will look. I do think it'll be a run-heavy game plan. What worries me as a Steelers fan is injuries on the O-line. Zach Frazier, their top pick this year, their center, is out for this game. And centers on offense and nose tackles on defense never get any love and any kind of publicity, but you remove them from your lines and you usually see a big drop off. Frazier was playing very well for the Steelers. They also have other injuries there of guys they had to IR, another top pick in Fatanu, Nate Herberg. So they're
sorry to cut you off. Tank Bigsby touchdown.
Oh, yep.
Nice.
My bad.
Nope, you're all good. And Broderick Jones has struggled, so I do worry about their O-line tonight. And Fields had been very good all year at covering this up with his legs, and I don't think Russ can do that. So it kind of gets into a matchup then where they probably throw Sauce Gardner on Pickens, and Wilson loves to throw the deep ball, but if that's taken away, where the Steelers find success here, I do think they're going to lean on the run game, more Jalen Moore and more Najee. And if they can't find success there, it could kind of be ugly early on, personally. On the other side, though, I don't know, like Steak saying, if I have any great confidence in Aaron Rodgers and the offense on the other side. Personally, I think the Adams trade slots everyone in nicely now because you have Adams on one side, Wilson on the others, a little bit more freed up now, gets less attention. Obviously, Lazard is still there as a safety net and whatnot. So I kind of feel like this profiles as maybe an easier game for Rodgers in a way. Steelers don't blitz a lot. If they can, chip the edges and keep TJ and Alex Highsmith out of his face, I think the Jets offense probably does enough. If TJ and Highsmith get back there and force some, whether it's a strip sack or a poor pass, I think that's the Steelers' best path to a win tonight is turnovers. If they can't create turnovers, I like the Jets. So if I had to bet the game, sadly, I think I'd play the Jets, but feels like, I don't know, the Jets are getting too much love this week too.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't surprise me at all if Pittsburgh and Tomlin comes in there and finds a way to win an ugly one based on some turnovers and maybe one random big play. But I don't know. I'm a bit worried about it personally as a fan. I feel like the Frazier injury and Wilson going back there is just, it could potentially be a nightmare situation if the Jets can get any push up front, which will eliminate the run game. Pickens taken out of the game by Sauce, and then the black and gold, sadly, is not left with much. So I guess we'll see. But right now I kind of have a lean toward the Jets, but I'm not going to bet the game either way.
Yeah, like Steak said, he can't push the button on the Steelers just yet because he doesn't want to bet on Russell Wilson. I'm kind of the similar thought, but in a different way. I can't push the button on the Jets because I respect Tomlin, as a home dog. And I respect TJ Watt too. I made a stupid fucking TikTok in the beginning of the season because I saw some PFF chart where they had TJ Watt as the 6th best defensive lineman in the NFL. I have no allegiance to the Steelers. I have no allegiance to anything other than just being a football fan. And I was appalled. My jaw was on the floor in the middle of a workday, mind you. I was in the middle of a workday and I ran around to the fucking corner of one of my open houses to make that stupid TikTok. I was so mad. TJ Watt is incredible. He's a game changer. And yeah, he scares me. And Steak said it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is old. He looks old. They don't look that good. And there, as you alluded to as well, there's too much Jets love. It's going to keep me off of it. But the feeling that I'm getting in a weird way is that the Lions at the Cowboys last week. I like the Lions. A lot of people were on the Lions. Nobody really respects the Cowboys that much. They kind of dog walked them. I'm not saying it's going to be 43-9, but I am a little concerned that the Jets are going to get what they need to move the ball. Maybe they settle for 5 or 6 field goals. I don't know. So I'm not saying they're going to blow up the scoreboard, but I just can't see Russell Wilson and the Steelers offense scoring more than like 10 points. But the running game, Ray Davis was running through gaping holes against this Jets defense. So I like the run game for the Steelers. I liked how it looked last year. I know Arthur Smith is in there now. I can't tell you really much of what he's doing, but I would lean on Najee Harris or Warren if he's playing.
I think it's a Jalen Warren game personally.
Jalen Warren game?
He's getting healthier. I think he's going to get more touches. And I think like Najee I like, but he definitely lacks that explosiveness.
Yes.
I like him more later in the season when the weather deteriorates, when the footing deteriorates, and he can kind of use his size and power a little bit more. Right now, I think you'll see more Warren than you think tonight, and I think that's their best path to win this game and keep it close will be, give him the ball, whether it's in rushing situations or a kind of screen game. They've been lining him up out wide a little bit more, kind of in a slot position. So I think he's a sneaky playmaker that could counter the talented Jets corners. So that's kind of what I'd be looking for as a Steelers fan.
Should we buy in on the Jalen Warren game? You and I both like Jalen Warren. He hasn't done anything this year.
Yeah, I'm 100% fine with that.
Okay. All right. I'm in. Like that. Sick Money just said, thanks, Freddie. I just started Warren in fantasy this morning. Needed to hear that. Yep. Jimbo Slice said, Greg the Leg making 5 to 6 field goals. Okay, DJ, and lay off the Guinness. Yeah, sorry. That's probably a bad take. All right, guys. That's it for Sunday. We've been running for an hour and 40. I appreciate everyone's time. I guess before we sign off on Monday, I'm going to be going live tomorrow. Freddie, if you want to tune in or share some thoughts on Twitter or in the chat or whatever, we'd love to hear them. We got a doubleheader Monday Night Football. But just before we sign off, Ravens and Bucks, Chargers and Cardinals. Steak, you may or may not go to the Bucks game tomorrow. My best bet is the Cardinals. I think they were plus 2.5. Now they're plus 2 now. Ravens are minus 3.5. Sides totals for the double header tomorrow night. Steak, what do you like?
My best bet is Bucks Ravens under.
That's right. Your best bet is the Bucks Ravens under. I keep forgetting because you have a total for the first time.
Yeah. If I don't go to the game, I'll live stream with you.
Okay. And then you're cool with the Cardinals still? Any late changes?
Yeah.
Okay. Freddie, Ravens, Bucks, and Chargers, Cardinals. Before we sign off, any plays in those games?
Don't have any bets yet. Kind of like if I quickly look at them, the Ravens early, maybe they've had some issues kind of blowing second half leads. So I'd maybe look at like a Ravens first half spread. I think it'd probably be maybe like 3 or 2.5.
Okay.
I think I made a play earlier the year on the Ravens when they went to Dallas and quoted kind of Lamar's history or success against NFC teams that don't see him a lot. Very challenging to prepare for him. And usually he comes out and smacks those teams in the mouth as they adjust to his ability to get on the edges and their rush attack and all this sort of stuff. And then at halftime, sometimes DCs can make adjustments. And you see this year, the Ravens, tend to maybe struggle a little bit more in fourth quarters and blowing leads. So I guess the angle I'd be looking at there is keep playing on Lamar's dominance over the NFC due to kind of, they don't see him a whole lot. So Ravens first half, looking at it here now, -2.5, a bit juice, but that would be kind of what I look at there. And then maybe Baker and then come a little bit back in the second half. So Ravens first half spread.
Awesome. All right. Guys, thank you very much. Freddie, really appreciate you coming on. You can find him on Twitter at Freddy Mills 7. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
At Freddy Mills 7. Oh, we got a Jags punt return touchdown. 21-10. Let's go. No flags. All right, State. We got this in the Circle Millions contest
Nice.
begrudgingly because I was fed up with betting the Jaguars. But this is why sometimes – actually, I'm not going to say anything. A lot of game left on the day.
Make sure you raid Ramble.
All right, we'll raid Ramble. Freddie, thank you again, man. Really appreciate it. Good luck today and this weekend and the rest of the season. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Have a great weekend. Steak, I will check you later, man. Good luck or have fun if you go to the game tomorrow. Go Bucks, and we'll go ahead and raid Ramble. See you, Freddie. See you, Steak. Thank you, guys. Jags over 8.5 wins is back on. Yes, it sure is. Don't get too excited, though. I'm just kidding. Thank you guys for tuning in and hanging out with us. As you can tell, I literally just rolled out of bed. Made some coffee, had a smoothie, and now I got to get dressed and go to work. So I'm going to miss the entire 1 o'clock slate, unfortunately. If you guys want to keep me posted and updated on Twitter, I always love that shit. And thank you for everybody in my DMs, by the way. You guys have been hilarious, cracking me up with some of these funny fucking game special bets. I like to be silly and stupid. And it's nice, by the way, to have a voice, a smart guy like Freddie come on every now and then. Mid-Major Matt coming on every now and then. Look who it is. Mid-Major Matt. I was singing your praises earlier. Thank you for coming on Friday. We'll chat later, too. I don't know if you're going to be coming on consistently Fridays, but we'd obviously love to have that. You guys have a good day. Good luck on all your bets. I hope you win more than you lose. I will tweet out the masterclass candidates later. I will tweet out the underdog entries later. And let's win some fucking bets. All right. That's what it's all about. But most importantly, they're going for 2 here. I don't know why they would do that. Have a great day. And we're going to go over to Ramble. Is it Ramble now? Is that what it is? I think it's Ramble now. All right, guys. Enjoy yourselves. And I will check you tomorrow morning. We're going to be recapping, baby. The recap. Oh, let's see if they get there. Yeah! He got it. Let's go. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Peace.